So, there's the first law of thermodynamics. It states that energy cannot be created nor can it be destroyed. For physicists, this is, you could say, God's law. The supreme law of conservation of energy, where all conservation of energy laws stem from. Like the federal constitution for the conservation of energy laws. And the conservation of energy laws are, well, the United States Code, the Federal Registry, and all other state laws. It's telling us, well, since I can't be created and I can't be destroyed, I'm being conserved. I'm not going anywhere. And then I came and said, well, look, nothingness cannot exist as a physical substance. Since that's the case, and this is what we detect, and it's all energy, and energy is eternal. So the first law of thermodynamics speaks to the conservation of energy taken to eternal time. This means that existence is eternal. I'm all that exists. I'm energy. I can't be created. I can't be destroyed. So, another nice equation that we have, of course, that I love. These are some of the ones that I like. And I'll get into more as time goes on, but I have to kill all these people first. They won't get out of the way, and they're just terrorists. E equals mc squared. M equals E over C squared. Maybe it's C squared equals E over M. What's that one? So, M equals E over C squared gives us, well, if you have energy and you're able to measure this, and it's in the form of light, it'll tell us what the, in a perfect conversion at least, some perfect conversion, conservation of energy into mass, what the potential particle mass is within the amount of energy that we have contained in light. So, now I also have a big, beautiful theory, and it is the dichotomies of the immeasurables and the inseparable unity of the eternal singularity. And it explains all of this. And I revise some things. Rather than just saying there are only the 5 forms of matter, I like to say there are the 6 states of energy. Five of which are matter, and the 6th of which is massless. You have the 4 forces: strong, weak, nuclear, electromagnetic, gravitic. And within all of this, we have these conversions going on, the conservations of energy, over time lapses, large and small. We could measure the conservation of energy in the LHC, the collision of hadrons, or nuclear particles. Where did it all go? What did it turn into? Momentum, acceleration, how much speed was lost, the mass involved, how many particles are there now? Well, we could look at a tree out here. So look at this tree. How old is that tree? $20 years old. It's been doing this for 20 years. You could measure the conversion or conservation too within the conversion of all the energy that this tree has used as sustenance and nutrients from the soil, the carbon in its respiratory system, everything it's doing down at the biological or bioorganic level, down inside the cell of the plant or the tree, and then the light hitting it. It's another source of energy. You could measure this over short periods of time. You can measure it over 10 years. I can measure the conversion of energy and its conservation, where it all goes to. And me making a fist with my left hand and hitting my right palm. Everything from vibrational frequency, the stop of acceleration, the force of the impact, the amount of momentum my fist had, the amount of energy that I actually had to use, if we go all the way back, what I had to eat. The point is, it all goes back to the first law of thermodynamics. And it means we could go back forever, but we measure small systems. So, what is the universe? The universe is both, or existence. Let's go with existence. The universe itself, as far as we can objectively see, as of now. This is accurate. It is singular in that it has a shape. It has limitations, boundaries. It's expanding. Singular. However, the energy that we are measuring is telling us through the first law of thermodynamics and the laws of conservation of energy. I can't be created, I can't be destroyed. I'm not going anywhere. I'm changing form. I'm eternal. So it's eternal in time and singular in shape. The universe is a qualitative quantity. It possesses the quality of eternity and the quantity of one. Eternal in time, singular in space, or finite. Existence, should it be larger, maybe there are an eternal amount of universes, and they all have a finite amount of space. But they're all connected to one another, because nothingness, its concept, self-defined, may not exist as a physical substance. It may not separate or come between any 2 points in space. They would all be connected to one another. Now, even in the hypothetical, the schizophrenic mind, nothingness does exist and it separates. You'd never detect it. You'd never know about it. It would fall right into entropy and data and information theory, and you'd go, well, we'd never discover it. We're separated from it forever, unless you made the exception that it breaks down. But with the hypothesis and the schizophrenia aside, the fact that nothingness just cannot ever exist, that's self-defined, it's non-existence. Non-existence doesn't exist. So all of these eternal universes, let's say there's an eternal amount of space now, and an eternal amount of time. The quantitative quality of the universe or existence in all the universes does not change. It remains consistent. There would only be one. It would be singular. And it would be eternal. There cannot exist and may not exist two eternities. And this is where monotheism came from. It's this and it's me. One eternity, and we can think of it in the way I just described, or in a simpler conceptual depiction, and it would be that, imagine that space stretches in every direction. forever. Just never stops. There are no limitations nor boundaries to the universe. This is it. This is all that exists, and it stretches everywhere forever in every direction. There's an eternal amount of space. And this energy can't be created and it can't be destroyed. There's an eternal amount of time. And anything else that you could ever come up with in your head, well, we're connected to it. It's all the same thing. There is no possible way that there is any space. It's everything everywhere for another eternity to exist. It just is everything. So there may only be one. So it is always, no matter what format you put it in, eternal and singular. Now there are 4 categories to existence: it's eternity, infinity, finite, and nothingness. Eternity and nothingness sharing a common quality, or 2 common qualities, of being immeasurable, having no beginning and no ending. Eternity because it didn't begin and it won't end. And nothingness because it just can't be measured, it doesn't exist, therefore it doesn't have any dimensions. It truly also does not have a beginning nor an end. Now I have united them together through a commonality, and used nothingness to reveal the inseparable unity of eternal existence. Within the finites is the bulk of all of our knowledge. Everything, even the concept of eternity, the concept of immeasurable, these are all words, a single concept. And this concept is comprised of a handful of other words that give it its meaning. Then we get into the infinites. 1/2 of eternity is infinity. So I have to redefine these concepts and make sure that everybody understands this. Eternity is without beginning and without ending. When we divide that in half, we take the 2 qualities and we separate them. That's what we're really doing as a mathematical function, as a logical function as well. And when we separate them, we may only have half the quality then. The qualities are no beginning and no end. And we can think of this linearly in time, or even in space, or like a number line. When you separate it, you have a point with no beginning, or you just have this quality of no beginning by itself. And to think of it in that way, no beginning by itself, you go, well, what does that mean? Well, we're talking about time. It makes no sense if you don't have a point and then stretching backwards, no beginning. Because that would truly be half of eternity anyway. This is what eternity is telling you. I'm stretching both ways forever. And now you cut me in half. So there's a point there with no beginning. The other half would be a point with no ending. We cut it in half. We divided it by 1/2. And we received 2 infinities. And they're exactly the same, really, but the opposite. They stretch on forever, but in different directions, opposing directions, like mirror twins, my father and his twin brother. Now, eternity is found as the symbol of 0. My father and his twin brother started out as a 0-shaped egg. I always loved this one. I dedicate it to my father and his twin brother, and I don't know why my father just never found this to be of intrigue. And like my father and his twin brother's egg inside of the womb of my grandmother, it underwent mitosis, split in half. There was an incipience, an inception, and a conceiving, and eventually birth. And inside the uterus, mirror twins begin to develop upon fertilization. So this 0-shaped egg split in half. Gave birth to mirror twins, kind of like dividing eternity in half. Exactly like that. Now, if you think of this as a number line, we have negative infinity and positive infinity, all numbers stretching backwards negatively forever, or negative integers and real numbers, and then all numbers forward. Anything negative or positive on this number line. They're mirror twins, and when you combine those together, you have every number in existence. 0. They also cancel out. That is where both no beginning and no ending are found. And like nothingness, it too has no beginning and no ending, like the value of 0. So the dichotomy is within the symbol 0. So, eternity, infinity, finite, nothing must be understood. I do this for physics. I do this for science. This is science. It takes over our planet, our world, and the future forever, everlasting. This is math. This is reality. This is actual mental health. Being explained to you from a schizophrenic man. A doctor with a professional opinion said so. In the city of Stockton, named Dr. Hart. So these are your categories. These are the states of energy, the 5 states of matter, the forces, the 6th state. We have all these different studies too, and they all come together. Like I said, you could find within biology and what this plant's doing, all its biochemical processes, its digestive system, its respiratory system, the laws of physics too. We have conservation of energy, transformation, mutation, and that it's not being destroyed nor created. It's changing. So, where does a thought come from? And I always give it up to the brain scientist or neuroscientist, but I say, see, I can get into this game too, and I can play it. And I play it better than you, I just don't have my PhD. If you have all your senses and no memory in your brain, your memory's damaged or you just don't have it, it was malformed, however it comes about, we just skip it and say, here, look. Here's the preface, or the prefix of the logical argumentation. You have your senses, but you have no memory. Maybe you have just enough so that you can actually experience. I mean, I can see, and I can hear, and I can taste, and I can smell, but I forget everything, so it's pointless. Everything, I mean immediately. You don't even know what a word is. You have no thought. You can't think, unless you consider that a thought. It's just fleeting, it goes away. You can't think of anything. What's a thought? It can't be that. We're going to play semantics. We could break it down. Well, here's the simplest form of thought, but you just forget it immediately. I was like, is that really a thought? What's a thought? I'll define that for you. If you have no memory, you can't think. So you look at something and it disappears as soon as you look away because you forgot, and you look back at it. And what was that? Who knows? You can't even associate tree with tree because you never learned the word. You don't have a memory. You couldn't learn words. Or you have a perfect memory. Your brain is pristine, but you have no senses. None of them work. You never experience anything. You can't think. So, if you had just one sense, like vision, and you had this perfect memory, you could learn words. You could see things. A tree, T-R-E-E, tree. You can begin to learn. You see. You can dream and vision. You recognize through perception. You have thoughts now. But you think and vision. So your thoughts are a result of your senses and your memory. But you need at least one. So I always go for Helen Keller, Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder, etc. These blind people, these people missing senses. But they're still able to put together thoughts. In fact, some of them are great. They make beautiful music. They make millions of dollars. They become musicians. We remember their life story. They have books written about them. They become literate. Somebody took the time. And if you had all your senses and no memories, now how do we fix that one? Because we know how to fix it if you got a perfect memory. Well, we need at least one sense. And what can we do? Implants, transplants, robotics. You can connect something up robotically to your brain. As long as your brain has enough to still function and those cortexes receive external stimuli and can go through that transformative process into an electrical signal that your brain understands and makes sense of. But now we're back at I have all my senses and no memory. How do we fix that? A brain transplant. Man, those are tricky. You could. Or this. We're doing it. That's what robots are a result of. We're learning. It's all coming together. Gee, what is this? These computers have memory banks. They have processing power. Do they have the imagination yet? We're working on that. Artificial intelligence. And we can make robots that are able to detect things. They have vision. We're giving them senses. Artificial intelligence would be like got a creation and creativity, imagination. What does it take to be a human? That. So if somebody had a memory problem and we get good at creating robots and artificial intelligence, we could use that knowledge to fix this person's memory problem like Alzheimer's or dementia. We could place this type of technology into the individual's brain in a singularity. Go here. Here's memory space for your senses, for your brain. And they're figuring all of this out. And for the guy, like I said, now these go hand in hand. For the guy who has no senses, you could put robotic eyes in on. And if you could have those convert a signal and connect with the brain, and the brain goes and it understands what's going on, and we can do this, you singularize. You've given this guy bionic eyes. You can see. Maybe it's not exactly what we see with our natural senses. Human flesh. But he'd be able to see something. I can see colors. I'm seeing in red. He'd actually see it, though. There's a car. Maybe the colors would be a little off. I can see. So you could do that robotically without a transplant, too. We figure out how to hook that up to the brain, and they're probably pretty close if they haven't figured it out already. And to do it well. And this singularizes us into artificial intelligence. We understand how the brain works. We can bring together the senses in the brain and the senses. And how much do you need? What do you need? What's going on? Let's connect those. We've done it. But I have schizophrenia, so my detachment to reality is severe. I have a detachment from reality. I am attached to delusions, and I have mental health problems. I suffer critically from emotional disturbances. I have bipolarity, and I am always forced to take medicine for this when there's an issue. Because I make no sense when I recite the Constitution. A Stockton judge said so. So never forget where God's at, or the eternal, and that is the laws of thermodynamics, the nothingness. This explains all of it. The laws of conservation of energy. E equals mc squared is a good one. We probably have more. Don't forget these things. Where entropy is, what that means. And where this is at in the Constitution. The Ninth Amendment is like God and God's power structure and qualities that cannot come into conflict with themselves. And our First Amendment, God going, I know everything. So since I know everything, I have no beliefs. I don't need any faith. I have the proof of everything. I'm missing nothing. I'm an atheist. But I created all of you, and I'm a little bit of all of you. I'm in everything. Actually, I am all of you and in everything. I'm energy. I'm eternal. I'm an omnist. I'm an atheistic omnist. And your First Amendment goes, I'm an atheocratic omnism. You may all be here. I established all of you to practice freely, and it's protected. And we just can't establish, religious law. So this makes us an atheocracy. The First Amendment goes, there's a lot of ones in here. What do I do? I'm establishing one law for certain that establishes all religion. The freedom to practice. You may all be here, and that is always protected and never taken away. However, you may never, and you know what this means, you may never create religious law. Laws out of and from those religions. No single one of those religions may begin to establish itself through its practice. That remains separate from law. The Ninth Amendment says, hey, look, I'm God. I'm omniscient, I'm omnipresent, I'm eternal, I'm singular, maybe I'm omniamorous. I'm all-loving. Eventually, through my Son, He establishes this kingdom here. This great place, and He gives you all the answers and goes, this is what we do. This is how you do it. It can't be any other way. This just gives everybody safety, freedom, liberty, protection, and allows innocence to thrive. God goes, hey, atheist, hey, theist, if you ever doubted me, you can't use my omnipotence against me. My omnipotence is a result of everything that I am. Because I know everything and I'm everywhere and I'm eternal and singular, I'm the only one. And you all worship me or study me and get to know me. It's just me and me only. And I'm in you and I'm in everything. That makes me all powerful. And you can't take that result and use it to war against itself. Can I remove my own omnipotence? Well, then you're not all powerful anymore. And can I remove my own omnipresence? Well, then you're not all powerful anymore and you're not everywhere. Well, you're not even God anymore. God said I'm all these things. I am these things. Okay? This is what I am, and this is why, though. You can't remove one, then I'm not me. Well, the Ninth Amendment says the same thing about America. It says, look, here I am, I'm America. Here are all my people. This is why I'm all-powerful. You may not ever use any of my qualities against another one of my qualities. This makes me what I am. Without it, I'm not what I am, and I fall apart. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a nice night. Enjoy the rest of your presidential candidates that are on the stage that aren't offering you anything, don't understand God nor the Constitution. So was that harsh? It's not that harsh when you start thinking about who's in Chicago being shot and murdered all the time when we can't see it.